I'm born in Argentina and I love the atmosphere like this.
It's a silverware that everybody wants on their shelf.
I can't see one boy not wanting to play in that kind of games.
These are the sort of games you look forward to the most in your career.
Winning at the moment, Markowski.
Growing up as a Preston supporter, you'd go to Olympic Park Friday nights, Saturday nights, and you used to just look forward to the rivalry. That rivalry is just something that you can't explain. The butterflies in your stomach, the memories, just the chanting, the singing, the colour of the supporters was fantastic.
Yeah, I know they used to be massive games back in the day, packed out grandstands, maybe a bit of like rekindling the fire with the two big clubs. Yeah, it'll be a massive game. I think heaps of people there, it will create a nice atmosphere for sure.
This is huge. These are the sort of games you look forward to the most in your career, where there's that little bit extra on the line.
Everybody wants to play this game. I wish I was a player. I wish I could go put the boots on and play in this game. You know, you're walking out and it's goosebump material, and you know, again, the chanting, the singing. This is what we want to be playing this game for.
This match is one team will be happy and one team will be very sad. Very exciting for us and for them also, because it's a derby game, and the last official game Preston South Melbourne was, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago, 20 years ago.
Reserve Preston about to kick off in the Doherty Cup clash between the Lions and South Melbourne.
Doherty Cup's been, as we know, been around for a long time, and it's a competition that should be unique to a lot of clubs in this state. You go to, you represent your own club against teams that are in lower leagues, and everybody's working towards playing that last forward and getting an opportunity in the grand final in the Doherty Cup.
It's incredible. You just hear the crowd, they're going non-stop, making lots of noise, and yeah, and that's when it's half full. If you have it at full capacity with 6,000, 8,000 people crammed in and people rows back all around the ground, yeah, you're just at a suburban ground like this, it's going to be unbelievable.
I have been in Preston Lions Stadium. The atmosphere is football atmosphere. It's very good. I'm born in Argentina and I love the atmosphere like this.
We want to bring 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 people into this stadium here, pack it out on a Tuesday night.
They are ready for National Second Division, but we are ready as well. Will be a very good match.
Rivalry, yes, but friendly rivalry where may the better team win, etc. And I hope that's us on the night.
Reserve in Reservoir, Victoria is the setting for a truly special night in Victorian football. The first time in 11 years that two historical giants of the game in this country will go head-to-head once more. Round 6 Doherty Cup action with a difference, not just on the pitch but in the stands, as South Melbourne travel to face their old foe, Preston Lions, in front of an absolutely bumper crowd here at Genesis Steel Stadium. A unique game in many senses. Not often that you get a look back into the past as two old foes reignite a rivalry, but also a glimpse into the future as two opponents who have put aside their differences in search of a common goal, becoming foundation members of the National Second Division next season, get to go head-to-head once again in a mammoth clash. Not just for tonight, not just for the present-day prize of progression in the Doherty Cup and a step closer to the national rounds of the Australia Cup, but a chance to show what Australian football could hold in the future. And before a ball has even been kicked, there is a lot to like about the scene that presents us at BT Connor Reserve. Pleasure to have your company for it, whether you are watching from home, watching in the lounge room, watching literally anywhere in the world. Lockie Flanagan joined alongside tonight by Josh Parrish for a massive Doherty Cup clash. Welcome to you, Josh.
Thank you, Lockie. Well, you might be watching in the bar across the street at this rate because it is absolutely chock-a-block on all sides. It is packed here, and we're about to get underway. South Melbourne have brought back in their big guns. Harry Sawyer, Max Mikola, Andy Brennan and Marko Jankovic straight into the starting 11. Jack Paynter-Andrews, Cooper Halfpenny, George Sissonaris and Emil Payos making way, while Preston have Matthew Whelan and Connor Bell back in the starting lineup. Aaron Anderson back from suspension. And the former South Melbourne Player of the Year, the South Melbourne legend, a Jimmy Rooney medalist in the grand final in 2016. Marcus Schroen passes a late fitness test to captain Preston against his former club. It's on for young and old here at BT Connor Reserve. For the first time in 11 years, they've come face to face, and it's Jabello! Preston take the lead in the blink of an eye. Wesley Jabello rockets it home from close range and sends BT Connor Reserve into raptures. And we haven't heard a noise like that here for a long, long time.
Josh, it is absolutely going off here at BT Connor Reserve. A goal that Preston Lions supporters have been waiting 10 years, 9 months and 28 days for. It has been a long time since they faced their old foe, and they could not have got it off to a better start. Wesley Jabello, the Martinique international, the former man from Marseille, has scored in 5 straight games now. He is flying, and so too are Preston on the pitch and in the stands. What a start to this game.
35 seconds is all it took. And we have liftoff. Here goes South Melbourne, preparing for one of their trademark long throws. Can they redress the balance early? Max Mikola arms the cannon. It's to the near post, and it's behind for a goal kick. And Preston survived the first real defensive test. Well, what drama to start this contest. And Wesley Jabello has been the main man for Preston when it comes to breaking the deadlock in recent weeks. He did it against Bulleen, he did it against Langwarrant, and he's done it again tonight. Here's Bernarda for South Melbourne. Jabello winning a free header. Back with Archibald, and Esteban Quintas' side regain a portion of control here, or a measure of control. Jankovic, easily picked off by Anderson. Jabello. Diego. Knocked down the line for Matt Whelan. Preston are flying forward. It's Connor Bell arriving. Still Connor Bell on the angle. Centering ball for Bainham doesn't get there. And Jago on the follow-up is blocked. And the next ricochet for Will Bainham was just too hot to handle. South Melbourne rocked again at the back. Luke Jego with a chance to deliver from the corner. In swinging delivery is low. Smashed into a South Melbourne player. And Preston will have a retake here. Well, Lockie, what a breathless start we've had.
You talk about first halves flying by. The first 4 minutes, Josh, have felt like all of 4 seconds. Preston, they are well and truly up for this game. For those who might not be au fait with Victorian football, let's not forget these two sides are a league apart. Preston still in the second tier and swinging the corner in. Anderson gets the flick on, and Lampard, or rather it was Marshall who was well positioned to clear as it was travelling towards the line. And as we said, Preston in second place in VPL 1, the second tier of Victorian football. South Melbourne, the ladder leaders in the top flight, with just one loss to their name all season. You wouldn't know it from the early evidence, but South Melbourne looking to spring a response. And the raucous boos crop up as Bernardo drives towards the byline, stands up across, Mikola contests, and Jego is able to clear lines for Preston. And if you were late to join the stream, you've missed the spectacle of the roar of BT Connor like we haven't heard it in some time before. Wesley Gibello opening the scoring after 35 seconds and leading the NPL Victoria table toppers South Melbourne with work to do. They look to regain some control. Sawyer was just caught on his heels, but the second ball is a kind one for Ross Archibald, and Brennan will get on the move. And a high boot means that it's a free kick for Preston. And the strong start continues for the home side.
Well, Sawyer needs to lift here. They need their big target man, Andy Brennan, across with the apologies. South Melbourne were heavily favoured coming into this fixture. Sitting pretty atop the NPL Victoria table. Preston second in the division below. Mikola's flicked header. Archibald forward. Anderson deals with it. It drops for Andy Brennan to strike. And Bon Scott comes up with the goods. Attack still alive for South Melbourne. Connor Bell back out doing some defending here. Now Brennan again driving it in low, but no one attacking the near post for South Melbourne. Preston can't clear their lines. They can now. Valenti knocks it forwards. And Matt Whelan puts it into space for Gibello to chase. An expectant roar from the home crowd. Jordan Lampard retreating in time.
And Josh, the talk around the South Melbourne camp, not everyone, but certainly some of the figures that you speak to, there was a few bits and pieces of nerves going into this game, because obviously it is a great spectacle, it is a great night potentially for what these two sides could hold in the National Second Division, but it is still the threat of a big upset for South Melbourne. Of course, there is still plenty of football to be played, and you will expect, Josh, that despite the frantic start of this game, that South Melbourne will be the side who do a little bit more of the playing of the football where possession is concerned. And they're trying to regain a level footing. Mikola darts up the eyes. Left-footed cross is not his best work. The highly touted Queenslander who has made his name in Victorian football, but has certainly breached the bubble for his long throws, which, of course, those who aren't familiar with NPL Victoria will get to, or maybe NPL Queensland fans will be well aware, but those from New South Wales and elsewhere amongst the states will be very familiar with that long throw, Josh, by the end of the night.
Well, I'm not sure they know too much about it in Queensland either, Lockie, because it was a weapon rarely used until he was under the tutelage of Esteban Quintas, who spotted his talents in pre-season and said, Stop doing that in pre-season games. We're keeping that under wraps until the season starts, but everybody knows about it now.
3 seasons with Lions FC before making the move down south. It's a well-trodden path, NPL Victoria from NPL Queensland. And he will need to be at his best tonight. Valenti to Connor Bell, the Englishman. What a night for Marcus Schroen, the Preston captain, on the ball. Over 150 appearances, multiple titles for South. A hero of the club, returning to face them in new colours. Mikola manages to poke it through the legs of Gibello. And Brennan, nice little fake. Searching ball, drops perfectly for Sawyer. Archibald, the man in support. Tried to return the favour, did Ross Archibald, but Sawyer too far in his advance, and there's 2 hands slapped against the top of the head from South Melbourne manager Esteban Quintas because the pass was a bit betwixt and between.
Well, this is the intangible, Lockie, is most players at this level have never played in front of a crowd like this. Certainly not a hostile crowd. So despite the apparent gap between Preston and South Melbourne as far as the divisions and the tables are concerned, you never quite know how you're going to react under the pressure cooker atmosphere. One sent long for Connor Bell. Oh, he somehow made up the ground. None of his teammates there in time to meet the cross. Mikola copping a late challenge off Leviticos. And the yellow card is out for the first time tonight. Jack Morgan issuing Benji Leviticos the game's first caution.
Benji Leviticos, he is a player, Josh. He's a favourite son here at BT Connor Reserve for his intensity and his attack on the football. And he does tend to rack up yellow cards as a result. He's often in the double digits at season's end. Picks up an early ticket against South Melbourne. It's one of the number of Preston players who do have experience in the top flight of Victorian football, a former Hume City player, Brisbane Roar Youth as well. He's coming up against a teammate tonight in Jordan Lampard. They were both at the Roar Youth Academy back in the day together. Oh, Bernarda with a chance, and it's cleared away by Anderson. It's into the body of Alec Mills, but Preston eventually able to clear lines. The home side looking oh so threatening any time they have the chance to break, but South Melbourne snuffed that one out well. Mills repels, and Valenti left it a bit hot for Matty Whelan. Brennan, a great ball for Sawyer. He wants a target in the middle. He'll get nothing but a corner, and that is a good result for South Melbourne given the start they've had. Penny for the thoughts of Andy Brennan as he marches over to take the corner, and in both his left and right ears a noise that on a scale of which he's probably not used to having to deal with.
Don't envy his task here.
All rests in the delivery of Brennan as the numbers spread. Marshall's the man at the front post. It's allowed to bounce, and Leviticos, the lucky customer, on the edge of the penalty area. And could there be another break in the offing for Preston? Connor Bell went for the kick and run, but Lampard held his ground and managed to swing a boot out to deny the advancing Englishman.
Well, that's the other effect of the crowd. Maybe you don't hear the shouts of your teammates because Will Bainham was free as a bird in the middle of the pitch there. And if Connor Bell hits that first time, just knocks it into space, Will Bainham is through on goal. Gibello drives it across to the back post. It might sit for Matty Whelan. Valenti to cross. Comes off the heels of Bell. Bainham is on site. Whelan again. Now Bainham. Two big strikers combined. South Melbourne did enough. And now the counter opens up for Harry Sawyer. Alec Mills making up the ground just in time and gets a huge roar from the shed. At that perfectly timed challenge. Danger not averted for Preston. Driven cross. Anderson equal to it. Gibello. Mills comes out with possession. And Bon Scott will clear the danger. Well, every ball fiercely contested out there tonight. It is a pressure cooker atmosphere. And the two teams are responding in kind. Preston have worked a way through here. Bainham into space for Gibello. Has Bell in the middle. It's Connor Bell. Couldn't make the telling contact. Well defended by Jankovic. Gibello back to Leviticos. Gibello shapes to cross again. And Jankovic was all on his own that time to deal with the danger. Leviticos has to hold back a touch on that yellow card. He's walking the tightrope now. Intercepted by Jego. Bainham. And that's asking too much even of Connor Bell. Or perhaps not. It's just slowed down in the corner there. Received a lot of rain on this pitch over the past few days, especially on Friday night. Schroen. Decent switch. Bainham. And I think he was expecting Gibello to burst into space there, but not so. Well, you have to say, the confidence boost that early goal has given Preston, Lockie, has got them on level pegging, at least as far as quality is concerned, it seems.
It's been absolutely colossal, that in amongst the crowd factor. I mean, we always knew that would play a part, but the fact that it came to fruition so early certainly helped as Whelan twists and turns, and now Bainham has slipped in behind. He couldn't get the shot away. Preston appeal for the earlier infringement, potentially on Connor Bell. The referee leaves the whistle at his side, and South Melbourne live to fight another day. But it's not, though, Josh, this South Melbourne side is top of the table in NPL Victoria and just sort of battling in a league where everyone's taking points off one another. They have been super assured for the most part up the top. Only one loss all season, undefeated away from home. They barely, if ever, concede a goal on the road. Only 7, and we're over the halfway point of this season. 7 goals conceded. I haven't seen them look this unsettled all season, and no doubt the intensity of the atmosphere is playing a part.
They look shell-shocked, Lockie. They look spooked. They've won 8 out of their last 9 games. Only Avondale have got the better of them in that run.
Great flick for the Argentine Noel Bernardo. Luke Jego doing his defensive work against his former teammate. Luke Jego and Noel Bernardo, both formerly of Green Gully Soccer Club. And if that Jego name sounds familiar, it's because it is. Older brother, rather the younger brother of the Socceroo and Melbourne City midfielder Jimmy Jego. Might even be in attendance here tonight, Josh.
Well, Noel Bernardo has already bettered his goal tallies in both his seasons at Green Gully, so South Melbourne are getting the absolute best out of him this season.
Another expectant delivery from Andy Brennan. The left-footed in-swinger, double fist away by Bon Scott, and at full stretch, Benji Leviticos is on a card, but fully committed. They'll come once more, South Melbourne. Mikola with a sidewinder, and the end result is the same. Cleared away by the Preston defence, but as we'll get to see now, Josh, these deep throws for the visiting side tonight are as good as corner balls. It's Max Mikola, 24-year-old, look to create yet another goal. And a simply staggering long throw. This one's up, not quite as much distance as his usual efforts, but get the chance to create by foot. Into the middle it goes, bouncing in the penalty area again. Bernarda struck his header goalwards, but lacking the real power and purchase to trouble Bon Scott, who takes it into the breadbasket.
Well, all the things that usually are absolute bankers for South are coming unstuck. Even Max Mikola's throws have been underwhelming so far. Maybe he's still dialing in the distances here at BT Connor. It is a very big pitch. South Melbourne win it back for the tireless Bernarda. Now it's a great switch from Mikola for Sawyer. One-on-one with Alec Mills. Sawyer drifting inside, and Marcus Schroen, his former teammate, saw him coming. Well, that's pretty nasty giveaway as far as South Melbourne is concerned. This is Matt Whelan looking for Gibello. And Jordan Lampard marshalled the Frenchman well.
And even if they haven't made the best of them, Josh, one of the privileges for people who are watching at home, be it for yet another Preston game or for the first time, is even if a corner or a long throw is a poor one, it's a privilege because we get to see the embankment of people on either side of the goal, and it is 6, 7, 8 deep across the entire width of the pitch. That's without even mentioning the grandstand. It's really is a sight to behold.
This has delivered on all of the hype and all of the promises and more so far. Well, you have to go back all the way to 2008 to find the last time that Preston beat South Melbourne in a competitive fixture. And the last time they won here at BT Connor, Lockie.
Can I scare you? 37 years ago. 1987 NSL season.
South on the attack. Oh, wow. Andy Brennan wouldn't give up on that one. South Melbourne have another corner. Well, as I was saying, the last time Preston beat South Melbourne, Louis Atsevsky was between the sticks. Now he's in the dugout.
And for the game in 87, he was probably a fan in the stands. Corner ball for South Melbourne. Mikola presenting short. We're going to get this one into the mixer. It's flicked on at the front post. What's the decision from the referee? Goal kick. And the Preston fans celebrate it like it's added to their tally.
Well, every set piece they don't have to defend is a win in itself. You could see Harry Sawyer having words with the corner taker there, saying, need to get it in the right spot, otherwise I can't do nothing with it. Whelan wrestling with Ross Archibald, no whistle. Flicked on by Sawyer for Bernarda. It takes a combination of Anderson and Valenti to beat Noel Bernarda to the ball there. Gibello sat up on his back, and now Jordan Lampard comes the other way. Sawyer was looking for the return ball for his advancing fullback. Nice cushion pass from Gibello, the former Marseille junior. Added a touch of class tonight. And that's a touch of class from Will Bainham. And now Connor Bell wants it on his right boot. And the shot was scuffed by his standards. A comfortable stop for any goalkeeper, but especially Javi Lopez, the finest in the state.
Does feel as though we have settled into a little bit more of a rhythm, and that will be music to the ears of South Melbourne. There was still a good chance for Connor Bell and great movement in the lead-up, but they're not carving their opponents apart in quite the same way as they were the opening 10 minutes, Preston. Mikola, the cross takes a little deflection, but easy pickings for Aaron Anderson. Real battle in midfield. Mikola ends up with the ball once again. And Sawyer is in a cul-de-sac. Mikola comes across to provide reinforcement. Preston can spy to win back the ball as Lampard swings it into the middle. It's over the reach of Noel Bernarda. And that's a more emphatic clearance that time from Adrian Valenti. But it'll be coming back in the opposite direction. Archibald. For Lampard. And the switch of play. Oh, Andy Brennan had all but stopped in anticipation of a whistle that never materialised. It'll be a throw deep in defensive territory.
What do you make of that, Lockie? Has Valenti been tunnelled there underneath his centre of gravity, or is Andy Brennan simply ducked for cover and defended himself?
I personally feel as though he's just held his ground there, Andy Brennan. I think the tunnelling incidents can be contentious ones. What I am impressed by is how quickly the ball has managed to travel back through the sea of Preston Ultras underneath the Genesteel Stadium grandstand to return to the field. I wonder whether it might have been a little bit more delayed en route had it have been a south throw. Jankovic looking to go long, and again Preston are getting their defensive boots in the right spots. A real gauntlet thrown down to the NPL Victoria tabletoppers. So used to defending from positions of strength, haven't had that luxury at all in this game, and quite the opposite after 35 seconds.
Tell you what, Connor Bell has been in the mood tonight. He has been absolutely electric every time he gets the ball in space. I'm sure Esteban Quintas has a file on him inches thick in preparation for this fixture.
He has had his troubles with injuries over the years, Connor Bell, but there's no doubt that when he is at full fitness, his quality is there for all to see. Newcastle born, Sunderland and Wrexham youth player, signed back in 2019 from South Shields.
And that one trickles out for Marcus Strong, but look how aggressive Preston was set up there with the high wingers, with two out-and-out strikers. Still taking risks, even at 1-0 up.
Don Scott off his line to launch that ball into the night sky.
Well, Bon Scott didn't hesitate that time. There was a rather slapstick affair with the equalising goal against Bulleen on Friday night involving Alec Mills and Bon Scott, so I feel as if Bon Scott won't hesitate to clean out his own defender if he has to clear the danger as Lampard swings it in. Mills stretching. Well held off, and then Barcia with a snapshot from way outside the box. And the ironic jeers go up from the home supporters as it flies well wide of the target.
Well, that earlier save for Bon Scott, Josh, it was off the boot of Noel Bernarda, was it, from range to tip it away. If he did make a mistake to allow his league opponent to find the score sheet from that end on Friday night, well, that will have done his goalkeeping stocks a world of confidence this evening as Preston play the ball out from the back, and Brennan leaps in to cut the ball out en route to Adrian Valenti. Who is no stranger to foundation clubs of the National Second Division. He previously played with Marconi. And a break on here for Preston once again. That was good scrapping work from Max Mikola on the first instance, but Jego held his ground. Short for Gibello. The game's opening goal scorer. Its only goal scorer. South have got their numbers back now. Can Preston pick the gap? Jego. Try the opposite direction, and that's a gallivanting run from Alec Mills. The switch not quite matching the quality of the movement at feet. Breakneck 30 minutes of football played in round 6 of the Doherty Cup. A long-awaited matchup between Preston Lions and South Melbourne. Living up to the billing if you're of a Preston persuasion. It's the visitors with it all to do. Going down was Bernarda. The referee will eventually award a set-piece opportunity to Esteban Quintas' side. It was Ross Archibald. Keeps things moving quickly.
It's Evans with the centering ball. Free header for Mills as Anderson and Tall Timber and Sawyer have it coming together. Meanwhile, Preston break, and there's an advantage signalled by Jack Morgan. Well done, Lampard, to clear the danger as his teammates retreat into their defensive shape. And the songs are belting out among the Preston fans. Leviticos. It's going to be a South ball despite the appeals of Benji Leviticos. How good is this, Lockie? What about this sense of occasion? The fans have come out in droves. The atmosphere is absolutely electric, and the football on the pitch has been pretty dramatic as well so far.
It has not disappointed as yet, Josh, on any fronts. And what a beautiful soundtrack we're getting to a game of football that thus far is living up to the billing. Gibello. Marcus Schroen. South Melbourne not in a great hurry to press their opponents. Oh no, now the squeeze comes in. Bernarda asked a lot of Adrian Valenti. Fortunately for Preston, Valenti was able to uphold his end of the bargain. Slight miscontrol by Whelan. Schroen, then up and under ball.
How do Preston respond when the adrenaline starts to subside at that early opener and they start to feel the heaviness in their legs of going the full distance against Bulleen Lions on Friday night? Winner in the 95th minute on a borderline waterlogged pitch, which looks magnificent tonight, but it certainly didn't on Friday. When the legs start to get heavy, how do they keep the momentum going?
It's a fantastic question, Josh. I'm not sure if I have the answer. They might need to call on these fans again because they'll get a lift every time they're in full voice. Bell to the left, the cross takes a touch, a couple of bounces, questions of a hand, a wave of the arms by Jack Morgan. But that may genuinely be, Josh, I know it sounds very reductive, very simple, but the lift that crowd can continue to give you over the course of the game may be one way. Yeah, Preston, for a second-tier Victorian football side, do have some very handy options on their bench as well to replenish if they need. They keep such a big squad, Preston, because so many players want to come and play here, Josh. Leaves them with a lot of very handy options. You don't see players like Marcus Schroen, a multiple-time Victorian champion, drop down to the second tier too often.
Sure don't. Nor do you see some, big prospects coming straight out of A-League academies.
But one example of a bigger thing.
But such is the competition for places at Preston. They're leaving 4 or 5 players out of the squad each week that are fit to play. And these are senior players, not fringe players coming up from the 23s. South Melbourne had the luxury of resting Harry Sawyer and Max Mikula in the first half against Melbourne Knights, Lockie. So they should be fresh for this one.
But don't let my answer to the question take away from the fact that it is much the onus on South Melbourne as it is on Preston, as it's looped over the top for Connor Bell, but well judged by Javi Lopez. It is a case of what do Preston do, but it's what more can South Melbourne give. We know that they can give a lot. They're a quality footballing side. And they have plenty of talented players. Here's one that they need to service a little more frequently in Harrison Sawyer. Great switch of play for Bernarda. And Lampard now. Leviticos doing enough.
That's going to be the ongoing battle to watch, I think, Lockie, with Leviticos on that yellow card. Can Mikula give him a torrid time? Lampard's got forward plenty as well from left back, trying to target that side. And with Leviticos walking the tightrope, I think that's going to be a big part of Esteban Quintas's halftime team talk. Mikula shapes for another long bomb into the area. Unloads the cannon. It's away from the pack of players and easily dealt with by Luke Jego. He's got another chance here, Max Mikula, with a decent angle towards the goal this time. Mikula again. Headed away by Gibello, only as far as Brennan, but then Leviticos got his foot to the ball. Archibald recycles. Mikula going back to Lampard. Andy Brennan tirelessly running the channels as he always does. Low delivery. Seen all the way by Aaron Anderson. We've got another long throw. Is it just me, Lockie, or has Mikula's weapon not been quite as effective tonight? Not so far.
Not as yet, but it can take a bit of time to dial it in occasionally. To be fair, Preston have camped the defensive penalty area and have done so once more, and the end result is the same. They've clearly done their homework on that strategy, if nothing else.
I'm sure that was the entire preparation for this match as far as opposition prep was concerned.
It's a great ball over the top for Brennan, but of all the places to miscontrol and to have a fresh air swing. A veritable feast of Preston fans behind the goal is not the place to do it. But it's failed, Josh, that particular strategy many aside. Of course, it was the creator of the decisive goal in the original Melbourne derby during the week between Melbourne Knights and South Melbourne. Of course, Mikula only came on at half-time of that game and needed only 12 minutes or so on the park for that throw to come to fruition. So Preston have done very well to match up to the threatening task that it presents. Whelan hits the deck. Brennan given one to chase, but Mills always favoured, and Jack Morgan, tonight's referee, will, without calling for a free kick in any direction, will allow Matthew Whelan, the Irish striker, who, Josh, is in red-hot form of late, a chance to get some medical attention and back in the starting lineup tonight.
And he's played the role of super sub for a couple of weeks. The winning goal off the bench against Bulleen in the 95th minute. 2 goals to turn a 1-1 draw with Lang Warren into, well, in the end it was a 4-1 win with Jacob Kresnar scoring from the Pine as well. He is red hot right now. And it'll be interesting to see who Jack Morgan returns the ball to here, because Preston were probably going to be forced to clear that anyway. So is it going to be a South Melbourne ball, or is it the last team who touched it? Something tells me Matty Whelan is staying on.
Oh, I think you'd have to be hit a fair bit harder than that to turn down the chance to forge on in a game of this magnitude, Josh. Curiously, did that end up as a South Melbourne ball, Josh? What happened there?
Even I'm not sure, Lockie. I think it was just a contested drop ball, like in the end. Connor Bell just dummying it out of play, and it ends up as a Preston throw. Schroen hooks it around the corner. Marshall attacking the loose ball. Straight back to Schroen. Must sting for South Melbourne fans to see one of their own captaining the arch rivals. But he does have a pre-existing relationship with Lujatsevski from their time at Hume City, getting to the Australia Cup semi-finals all the way back in 2015. Lovely touch from Whelan, who's back on the park. Jabello went down off the ball, and Preston is certain they should have had a spot kick. The Martinique international still in a heap inside the South Melbourne penalty area, and play goes on. Big flashpoint in this game, Lockie.
Wow, that is a massive, massive call from Jack Morgan. Jordan Lampard certainly threw his body about, and now he's looking to turn provider. Fired away. And we're going to have a stoppage in play here.
Some pyrotechnics on the pitch, so Wesley Jabello runs for cover. Well, just looking at that collision between him and Jordan Lampard, wasn't a whole lot in it. South Melbourne fans reacting angrily to Jabello staying down, but he looks to be pretty proppy as he gets back to his feet, Lockie.
Yeah. And the good thing is that at the very least, Jabello's back to his feet, albeit in some discomfort, and it would be a big blow for Preston to lose what has been one of their most threatening players in recent times.
Well, we're just going to pause play here as some of the culprits are found and ejected. Security going through their usual procedures.
It's obviously not the way that South Melbourne would have wanted it to happen by any stretch of the imagination, Josh, but perhaps an elongated stoppage of play through a combination of injury, but also some altogether other happenings. Did give Esteban Quintas a chance to not only give a team talk to his charges, but to make a first half substitution. Young South Melbourne defender Morgan Evans, who's been lining up against Connor Bell on the right-hand side of the defence, is going to be replaced right before the halftime interval. So Esteban Quintas, you know, we're heading towards first half stoppage time, Josh. He could have made a halftime substitution with a free sub window. It wouldn't have cost him anything. But I feel a statement of intent from the Argentinian manager to make one of those changes and bring on Jack Painter-Andrews to sit on that right-hand side of the defence. And Wesley Jabello also importantly looks as though he's going to be back up and right to continue. And the who's responsible for the incident after he went down with injury, looked to have been dealt with. And credit to the supporter marshals of both Preston and South Melbourne, who were so quick to deal with the situation so swiftly.
Yeah, and credit to the fans, the genuine fans who seem to be self-policing as well, from what we can see from here.
Yeah, there was a very strong response from the South Melbourne contingent as well.
Leviticos battling for it. South end up with the ball, and there's 4 minutes added on the fourth official's board after that long stoppage at the end of the half. Lampard hangs it high, and well, he hangs it over the Preston goal and behind for a goal kick. And as you say, Lockie, it's a statement. It's a statement to his players, Esteban Quintas, to not use the free substitution window, the free hit at half-time, and instead drag Morgan Evans early, because I mean, I can't blame him. Connor Bell was absolutely torching the South Melbourne defence down that flank.
Yeah, and you might look at it and think it's a little bit harsh to single out a 21-year-old young defender who's filling this year and in the back end of last year the enormous shoes left by Brad Norton, a South Melbourne legend and champion of the club. But it really was more than just about one individual player in this instance. He was almost the sacrificial lamb to communicate a wider modus operandi, a wider brief to the South Melbourne squad. Pull your socks up, because as things stand, I'm not happy and no one is safe.
Imagine the reaction at half-time if South had gone in 2-0 down. It was very nearly a penalty kick. Jordan Lampard will be thanking his lucky stars that Jack Morgan didn't lean the other way on that borderline decision. South Melbourne looking to muster a response before the break. They've had that long stoppage to gather themselves. Mikola for Archibald. Painter Andrews. Away by Anderson, who's been brilliant so far tonight. Former Melbourne Victory product. Part of an Altona Magic side who punched above their weight last season to qualify for finals. Jankovic, with all the time in the world. Gibello looking a little heavy-legged. Brennan back to Marshall. They're not going anywhere in a hurry here, South Melbourne. They do have numbers forward now, if they can stay on side. They're just trying to move the chess pieces into position. A minute left to play in stoppage time. Lampard finds Bernarda. Ross Archibald on the stretch. Mikola skips away from Luke Jego. It's come off Gibello here, and Leviticos, well, he's not holding back despite the booking. South Melbourne corner.
So can South Melbourne restore parity before the halftime interval? Could make for a very different Esteban Quintas team talk, but it rests in the delivery of Mikola, and there's a rising header, and it's an equaliser for South. The goal they so desperately needed arrives at the perfect time from Ross Archibald. That's got the South fans back into voice, and it's got their side back level pegging right before the break.
Well, Quintas went to his bench and he said to his players, I need a response now, not at half-time, now. And they've got it through Ross Archibald. He's such a leader in that team. He's a big game player. And he's been brought in as a midfield destroyer. but he can score goals aplenty. That's his 4th in all competitions this season, which for a defensive midfielder is not bad going. Ball could Preston hit back immediately. It's Connor Bell. Shifts it onto his right. Bell with the strike. Deflection took the sting out of the shots. Jego. Valenti up against Painter Andrews. Holds his grounds. Bell just too quick for Andy Brennan. Couldn't find her teammates. And the halftime whistle sounds. And boos ring around BT Connor Reserve as South Melbourne restore parity in the shadows of halftime.
Is on for young and old, Josh, when the second half returns. That was absolutely madcap, that 45 minutes of football. An eruption of noise from the opening goal after 35, I can't even believe it, I'm saying that out loud, 35 seconds through Wesley Gibello, and Preston really were impressive in the opening phases. South Melbourne did settle back into a rhythm, but they controlled a lot of the ball without really finding clear-cut chances. And it was really only that big penalty shout for Preston that went unheeded by Jack Morgan, Jordan Lampard going toe-to-toe with Wesley Gibello in the box, that allowed South Melbourne to get a bit of a hard reset, and crucially for them, the set pieces, which are so often the apex strength of this South Melbourne side, have come to the fore to help them out once again and set us up for a really entertaining second half of football.
Well, don't you dare go anywhere. Do not adjust your set. This is box office. It is required viewing. It's delivered on the promise so far. The halftime score at BT Connor Reserve in the 6th round of the Australia Cup. Preston Lions 1, South Melbourne 1.
Connor Reserve. Second half awaits in a round 6 Doherty Cup clash that is living up to the billing. For nearly 11 years, we've waited and wondered what it'll look like when historic national and state league rivals Preston Lions and South Melbourne go head-to-head once again. And if the first 45 minutes of answering that question is any evidence, then strap yourselves in for a big 45 and potentially more to come, as the scores are level after 45 minutes played. Preston taking the lead and sending the roof off Jenna Steele Stadium after 35 seconds through Martinique international Wesley Gibello. And the goals came at either end of the half as South Melbourne regained their footing and reasserted themselves into the contest. Right before the break, Ross Archibald's header from a Max Mikela corner levelled things up and sets the stage in the main event for a big second half. And of course it is cup football. We could well get more. Lockie Flanagan on the call alongside Josh Parrish, and we don't know where the scoreline will head, but the feeling is, at least in terms of action and certainly in terms of a raucous noise off the pitch, we are definitely going to get more in this second half. Hope you've been enjoying it wherever you're watching from, on Football Victoria YouTube and the Preston Lions Facebook page. Be you a dyed-in-the-wool fan of Victorian football, a Preston Nutter South Melbourne superfan, or someone in betwixt all of the above, maybe even someone watching in hope of a national second division that could still come. I think any of those camps have been more than pleased with what they've seen so far tonight, Josh.
Certainly will, although the coaches haven't best been pleased. Both have already made a substitution. Esteban Quintas, in rather memorable fashion, hauling off Morgan Evans before the half-time whistle. And now Preston have made a half-time change of their own. Andrea Roxandich on. Marcus Schroen, the captain, off. He passed a late fitness test to take his spot in the starting lineup. But I think we saw Louis Atsevsky and Marcus Schroen have a heart-to-heart on the way to the tunnel at half-time. He's put his hand up and made way. He's not right physically. That would be my read of the situation, Lockie. And Andrea Roxandich, a much different mould of player, but someone who'll provide defensive discipline and nous at the base of midfield, comes on in his place.
Certainly one of the most beloved players at Preston Lions. He's probably, I dare say, Josh, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the longest serving player at the club.
By distance, Lockie, 7 years.
7 years.
This is his 8th season this season.
8 seasons at Preston, and he has been with them every step of the way through this journey out of State League obscurity back into the NPL system, and now the VPL 1, the second tier where they currently sit. Definitely a different profile of midfielder, a more defensive-minded operator, but leave in, or be in no doubt, I should say, his ability to put his body on the line and give 110% for this side.
Would you believe, Lockie, in 7 years with the club, he's never scored a goal?
What a time this could be, as Preston look to strike early in the second half. The free kick is a shallow one, and glanced clear by Sawyer. I'll be hoping for a few more penalty box headers at the other end in this half. Victorian football's leading scorer this season, 12 goals in 14 appearances for Harrison Sawyer. Talk about players, Josh, that have been signed by these clubs with the national second division in mind. They haven't just been building squads for 2024. They've been having an eye on the future, and Harrison Sawyer, the former Newcastle Jet, returning from Jamshedpur, one of those players. Bernarda, a well-shaped cross, but no one home. Back at South Melbourne for a second stint is Harrison Sawyer, wearing the captain's armband this time. Since his first game, scored 36 in just 63 appearances, going at a goal every 155 minutes And 155 minutes, Josh, have passed or thereabouts since his last goal, so he's due one.
These are the sorts of situations he thrives on as well. Again, the task falls to Max Mikkola. Can he make the distance this time? We know that long throw is one of the big weapons in South's arsenal. Mikkola gets good distance on it this time. Shanked effort from Gibello to clear. Mikkola will let it trickle out for a South Melbourne corner. Their 5th of the game, and he'll take it himself. Brennan offering the short option. South Melbourne packing the 6-yard box with Bon Scott having to deal with plenty of traffic in front of him. Scott comes to claim and doesn't hold it, and the ball is loose. It's blocked on the line. It's cleared off the line. And Preston survive by the skin of their teeth. Delivered it again by Mikkola. It's short of the mark. Again, it's Brennan. In swinger away. Jago's header, and Gibello was in space, but he couldn't find him. Well, Preston living dangerously there. Bon Scott will be the most relieved man inside BT Connor reserve at the moment, Lockie.
Gee, it does not get much closer than that, Josh. Not sure whether it was Matthew Whelan or Will Bainham on the line, but two players so used to scoring goals. I fancy it was Whelan with the goal line clearance. Used to scoring them. Has certainly saved one for the visitors on this occasion.
Well, yet again, Mikkola has the chance to deliver the killer ball by arm or by foot. He's pretty effective. Mikkola launches again. Sawyer is the target. It's flicked on to Andy Brennan, who couldn't get a shot away. And Noel Bernardo despairs as the loose ball is pounced upon by Scott. The Preston faithful sensing their side needs a boost. They're under siege at the moment. Whelan hauled to the ground by Yankovic. No whistle. Quickly taken throw in from Leviticos. Lampard. Away to Mikkola. Now Harry Sawyer. Couldn't pick a path through. Leviticos with a wag of the finger. The whistle does eventually go against Benji Leviticos. And now Jack Morgan has a decision to make.
Certainly South Melbourne players at pains to point out that Benji Leviticos did pick up a yellow card very early into this fixture. And has found himself in the eye of the referee once more. I fancy he's going to live to fight another day, but certainly South Melbourne are turning up the pressure. So we just wait to see what Jack Morgan has to say to Benji Leviticos. And I'm not a lip reader, especially not at this distance, but I imagine it went something to the tune of make that one your last, Mr. Leviticos.
Well, he's already on 4 yellow cards in the league, Lockie. Does tend to pick up bookings with his physical, no-holds-barred style of play. That's what's endeared him to the Preston fans, but it's what gets him in trouble sometimes as well. Painter Andrews, meanwhile for South Melbourne. Good bend on that, but it will be Bon Scott's. Mills. Whelan. Great physicality from the Irishman, but the pass is offline. Barcia. Bernarda. And South Melbourne will restart with Jake Marshall. Now, Andy Brennan has looked a little lethargic in recent moments, Lockie.
Well, it's been a couple of times now in this game, Josh, where the ball has fallen to Andy Brennan in some of the ideal positions that you'd want an attack-minded winger like him to fall into, and on both occasions he fell foul of a fresh air swing.
Both a coach's favourite and a fan's favourite with his work rate. He did score a memorable goal in the Cup in round 4 against the Melbourne Knights, a slaloming solo effort that decided the game.
He is one of those players where he doesn't always score with regularity, but when he does score, you certainly remember it, because amongst the 25 goals he's scored in NPL Victoria across over 150 games, many of them have been very, very special goals. That's why it's so frustrating that the touches have just eluded him tonight, because when he gets the chances, he can come up with something special, and he'll look to get on the end of a Max Mikkola delivery that's set up for Sawyer, and boy, oh boy, Bon Scott produces a save to match.
Well, he had to be at his best for that one. What about the power generated by Harrison Sawyer?
It's not like it was a whipped cross, it was just floated in for Sawyer to attack. He got maximum purchase on the ball, and Scott was able to fingertip it away, but certainly this is a different South to the side that started the opening 45 of this game. Can he pick out the main man once again, Max Mikkola? Can he find the head of Harrison Sawyer? Will it be Archibald, the first half goal scorer? It'll be Wesley Jabello's outstretched boot, and it will be the ball into the creek here in Reservoir, Josh.
Well, bad bounce. Someone will be playing fetch tonight. Adam Bavka calling Jack Morgan over, maybe to dish out some discipline to someone on one of the benches. Couldn't tell you what that was about. Or maybe something on the periphery of the pitch that needs dealing with.
Seems as though Jack Morgan has picked up a bit of communication from perhaps his linesman on the far side. Seems as though he might have requested that Preston send a few more numbers in an off-field capacity to that portion of the pitch. It's hard to be too sure exactly without being a fly on the shoulder of referee Jack Morgan. Play will get back underway through the boot of Max Mikkola. High towards the back post. Sawyer rises again, and Scott equal to his headed effort once more.
I'll take a bow, Bon Scott. Not once, but twice. Harrison Sawyer is not just one of the biggest strikers in NPL Victoria. He's the best at judging the flight of the ball. He's the best at generating the purchase on the ball. It is a preternatural aerial gift that he has. And Bon Scott has come up with some big stops tonight. Those two only the latest in a string.
195 centimetre wrecking ball is Harrison Sawyer. And when he crashes through a defensive pack, like he does from corners like that one, You have to be a very good goalkeeper to stop him. And Bon Scott is no stranger to taking on South Melbourne in the top flight. With the likes of Avondale and Bentley Greens. There's certainly that. He did face a fight at the start of the season for the starting spot too. Battling with reserve keeper Matthew Symes. Actually, I think his first start for Preston came in the Doherty Cup, Josh. We can't forget that round 4 clash. Preston do have form when it comes to not only matching it with top flight opposition, but getting the better of them. Of course, that was a 2-0 win against Dandenong City. Currently sitting mid-table in NPL Victoria, so not quite the heights of South, but promising nonetheless.
Preston are going to make changes here. And Will Bainham cuts a rather forlorn figure as he limps towards the bench. If his body had allowed, he would have seen out the full 90, but he's given everything he has tonight. Benji Leviticos replaced as well on that yellow card. So Brandon Lawton's going to come into midfield. And Delano Ferro at right back.
Coming off number 7, Benjamin Leviticos, number 20, William Bainham, to be replaced by number 22, Brandon Lawton, and number 24, Delano Ferro.
Right-footed in swinger Sawyer, the target once again. Harrison Sawyer twisting and turning, and here's Andy Brennan, and there's the go-ahead goal for South. Well, when the gauntlet gets thrown down, you need your stars. And Andy Brennan, who's had fresh air swings aplenty, pops up finally at the perfect moment. And one look at the celebrations with the South Melbourne fans say it all about how important that goal could be in the context of this cup tie.
Well, we said it before, we'll say it again, Lockie. Andy Brennan doesn't always score, but when he does, they're big, big goals. Aaron Anderson will rue his fluffed clearance there, which fell straight to the feet of Andy Brennan. But when it mattered most, Brennan was unerring. A bullet into the bottom corner, and South Melbourne have turned this scoreline on its head.
A weight of multiple tons lifts off the shoulders of Esteban Quintas, lifts off the shoulders of his 11. And Andy Brennan, an exemplar of the maxim that if at first you don't succeed, try and try again. And he kept trying, and now he's delivered another important Doherty Cup goal for the visiting side. What sort of response do Preston have? Not a lot from that forward foray is the answer. And now it's the South Melbourne fans who take their turn to add to the atmosphere, as it's fair to say that that has taken a bit of the wind out of the sails of the Preston faithful.
Well, now the substitutes have to step up and impact the game for Preston. Wojciechowski made those changes, thinking his side was holding on to a 1-1 scoreline. Now without Will Bainham on the park, without the energy and intensity and leadership of Benji Leviticos, they've got to make something happen. Lawton will drop deeper in build-up, more of a midfielder, and Bainham playing as a second striker as Luke Jego is fouled. Jago. And Preston were basically happy to sit in their block and counter at the start of this second half, and eventually they've paid for that by losing the lead. Now they have to take the initiative. And it's an entirely different challenge against the South Melbourne side that rarely, if ever, concedes.
Well, that was the point I was going, and I don't think I ever got the chance to make because of how electric that first half was, Josh. That South Melbourne, they're a team that like defending from the front. This is the position in which they feel most comfortable. They get the lead and they know how to close it out. Conceding after 35 seconds changed that. And so now Preston are going to have to do something that a lot of NPL Victoria sides, let alone teams in the second tier, would struggle to do, which is breach a South Melbourne defensive unit that are clinging on to an advantage. Jabello buys a yard, drives forward, and it breaks kindly for Roxanic. A really clever pass to pick out Delano Ferro. The substitute, can he deliver the impact? Can only deliver impact to the chest of Mario Barcia. And if ever you needed a motivator, Jenna Steele Grandstand is providing that.
Well, Delano Ferro is a natural winger, so he's going to get forward as often as he can from fullback. Oh, would you believe it? Andrea Roxandic, his duck's not broken yet. Valenti unleashes, and the shot was always sailing over.
Double-barreled round of applause from the Preston bench. Head coach Louis Asevsky and assistant Christian Kristevsky as well. Quick to applaud the willingness to take on the game and have a few shots from range.
Well, those are the first shots that Preston have mustered since half-time, Lockie. They've been so camped in as South Melbourne chase that go-ahead goal. Oh, Sawyer, what strength to bustle his way by Alec Mills, but Valenti came in from the other side to make a clean challenge on the ball. Archibald. Well, Sawyer was coming back from an offside position and couldn't involve himself. Just as Andrea Roxandic was lining up there, Lockie, I was thinking, how generous are the scriptwriters going to be tonight? You'd be laughed out of Hollywood with something like that.
I think that's the thought that was running across the mind of anyone who knows Andrea Roxandic.
He's the ultimate quiet achiever. Man, a few words off the park. He's yet to open his Preston account in 7 years at the club. Marshall out of play. Preston gained some territory. Well, looking at their attacking reserves, Chok Dow is the obvious player that could come on with some pace and trickery to impact the game. Maybe if Wesley Jabello is running out of legs towards the end of the 90. Nick Dibb, a creative midfielder. Ferro. Jabello. Oh, Lampard just left a foot in there. And this is the sort of range from which Adrian Valenti teed up Matthew Whelan for the winning goal on Friday night. Just a little bit further out, but can he repeat the trick?
They did score a free kick, Josh, from a very similar position on Friday night, did Preston, in highly dramatic fashion.
It's going to be Luke Jago. It's not the left foot of Valenti. So we're not going to see an exact reenactment. Could the end result be the same? Luke Jago looking for Matty Whelan, and it's straight to Javi Lopez. It was Whelan again, but the bounce of the ball off the Irishman's forward couldn't have been kinder to the Spanish goalkeeper.
What were you saying about the Hollywood scriptwriters, Josh? The man who scored a 95th minute winner from a free kick taken in that position, getting on the end of the cross. Unfortunately for him, just lacked the conviction required to trouble Javi Lopez, the back-to-back reigning gold medalist, or goalkeeper of the year in NPL Victoria. And South have the bit between their teeth. Brennan, the go-ahead goal scorer. Great commitment from Anderson to prevent a South Melbourne corner. Suspect a third for South would make the road back a very tricky one for Preston Lions. Of course, this game is about so much more than the actual Doherty and indeed Australia Cup permutations that are at stake. But progression closer to the national stage and a step closer to Victorian silverware. Still a big deal.
And if this is a taste of what we're in for in terms of second division atmospheres, yes, it's a special occasion, but this rivalry is special. I can't wait for what's to come next year, Lockie. This is what we can expect. Mikola did really well to win the header twice. And Andy Brennan buys a throw-in. South Melbourne back in their comfort zone after the rocky start. Good distance on the throw from Painter Andrews. Rock Sandich. Bear with us as we sort through some audio problems here on the live stream. And it's Jabello who makes way for Choctaw. It's the change we flagged earlier. And it's the speedy West Australian who Preston turn to in their hour of need. Dow lost possession with his first touch. He'll have to adjust to the pace and the intensity of this game quickly. Painter Andrews with the header. Archibald up. Roxanich away. Valenti, and now Jego under pressure. Anderson. Oh, it's given away. And South Melbourne could be in for a third. It's Harry Sawyer with the outside of the boots. And Bon Scott at full stretch to tip it around the post. South Melbourne with their 7th corner of the night. Scott out to punch through a sea of bodies. Mikola slices it into the night sky. Mikola again barreling his way through to get a touch, but Valenti hacks it away and Preston stay alive. Mikola. off the long run-up. It's an awkward bounce. Sawyer thrives on these sort of balls, and South Melbourne are 3 to the good. Jake Marshall with the goal. And the long throw of Max Mikula eventually bears fruit. And that could be game, set and match for South Melbourne. After conceding inside 35 seconds, the NPL Victoria leaders have fought their way back. Harry Sawyer made a nuisance of himself. And Jake Marshall was there to clean up the crumbs, to sweep the ball into the back of the net and finally undo this Preston resistance. And now, the boys in red and black have a mountain to climb. Ball had gone out of play. It's going to be a Preston throw. Well, in fact, Jack Morgan has overruled his linesman. Tough task. In wait for Preston. Can they pull something back to turn this game on once more? And they'll get a free kick. There's Adrian Valenti, who hit the turf. They take it quickly, electing against the set piece. Luasevski's side. Shockdown. Twists and turns and feeds Pharaoh. Bainham went for the acrobatics and just didn't get the clean contact that he desired. Now Valenti! Well, a couple of chances at goals that would have torn the roof off Jenna Steele Stadium. Matthew Whelan not getting the desired contact on his acrobatic effort. Adrian Valenti caught it sweet. And it just didn't drop for him in time. Bernarda. Body-to-body challenge. All legal in the eyes of Jack Morgan. Hard work from Andy Brennan. It's his goal that put South Melbourne in the ascendancy. Jake Marshall,
who helped to make the points, or the 2-goal buffer and the tie safe for now. But Preston perhaps building into a final flourish as we approach the last 10 minutes of the match, or of the 90, I should say. Valenti fires it in. Roxandich! Oh, a great save from Javi Lopez. Jego in the Choctaw direction. It'll be a goal kick for South Melbourne. And Andrea Roxandich, the 7-year wait for a Preston Lions goal will stretch longer. But I dare say in 7 years he hasn't come much closer than he did this evening, and just then against Javi Lopez. Preston's throw. The crowd certainly making their presence known as they have done all night. Lawton. Roxandich again. Valenti looking to unwind on the left. South closed ranks and did so swiftly. A recycle possession, Preston, through Alec Mills. If they score here, the tie is back on for young and old. Whelan through the legs. Jego darts the eyes up. South barricaded behind the ball. Roxandich, another shot from range. And that one a decent stretch more wayward than the last. You just get the feeling here at BT Connor Preston aren't done with just yet. And South, as we've mentioned, just 8 goals conceded away from home across all comps in 2024. They will make the going tough. Had to defend against the side that have got a 12th man in the way that Preston have this evening. Free kick for South that will chew some seconds away. One that arrives much to the frustration of the Preston bench. Territory as the free kick is high. Harrison Sawyer, the tallest man in the field, is still able to meet the aerial challenge. Connor Bell. Space opens up for him. Some players just peeled away around him and he keeps going. Connor Bell, what a run. Teeing up Luke Jego, deflected and in! We're back on at BT Connor. And just listen to what it means. Under 10 minutes of regulation to play. But Preston Lions are back within striking distance. And don't their fans know it? If ever a crowd told a story, this goal is giving us that, or has given us that, and it has Josh Parrish set up quite the entertaining finish to this game. It was Jego who had the shot, the deflection en route, just wrong-footed Javi Lopez. There was nothing he could do. You can't say, Josh, it hadn't been coming in the last few minutes.
No, Preston replying on the pressure. Even Andrea Roksandich was driving shots from outside the box, which you don't see very often. It's nothing less than they've deserved. And we have the grandstand finale that this occasion deserves, that this crowd deserves.
Luke Jego, the ground announcer, is giving him the goal. I think we will too, but it was a heavy touch. And he's the man who have Preston back from the brink. We could be staring down the barrel of more of what has on and off the field tonight been a footballing feast.
Nicola's long throw. The infringement's been picked out. It was Luke Jego, the man fell. And Preston forced the issue now. The game looked done and buried when Jake Marshall swept home. Preston had a mountain to climb. But now the incline is significantly shallower. What a ball from Anderson. Here goes Adrian Valenti. Cut back to Luke Jego to cross. Lawton's in the middle. And South Melbourne were always favoured for that ball. Cooper Halfpenny clearing his lines. Here's Sawyer. Oh, big trouble for Aaron Anderson. And big decision coming up for Jack Morgan. He's off. Preston down to 10. And Aaron Anderson receives his marching orders. Well, when Harry Sawyer is goal side with the game on the line, you have little other choice.
Who wasn't left with a raft of options was Aaron Anderson. And it's very rare that making a decision that sends your side down to 10 seems like not that bad a decision to make, but when the striker in on goal is Harrison Sawyer, then that becomes a reality. And the thing about Sawyer, at 6'5", you assume that he's slow, but he is not. He's got a decent turn of pace, and Aaron Anderson found that fact very quickly and has got himself an early shower to show for that discovery.
Especially in open pasture too, Lockie. When he gets up to top speed, in those long strides, there's no one stopping him. Here goes Max Mikola off the resulting free kick. Sawyer is the target again. Headed across the box. Bernarda making something out of nothing. Mikola! South Melbourne are home! It's an absolute bullet! A frankly incredible connection and an incredible noise from the travelling South Melbourne fans. In fact, it was Jordan Lampard, would you believe, the left back, with a thunderous half volley.
Sum total of 4 goals scored across 100 games in NPL Victoria. Just his second South Melbourne goal. What a time to get it. What a way to get it. from Jordan Lampard. And that is a dagger blow in many senses of the phrase. South Melbourne will make a substitution. Noel Bernardo will leave the field of play. George Sitzenyaris, the boyhood South fan, will enter the fray. A great moment for him. So Preston look to move it quickly. We'd suspect that fourth goal, with Preston down to 10, is probably the tie done and dusted. It has been a great night of football in many respects. Headlined by that sealer. Fourth goal to savour for South Melbourne. 5 minutes of stoppage time added on by Adam Bafka. And Preston surely couldn't.
Jego. Comeback is offside. South Melbourne go to their bench again. Mihailio Marinkovic to come on. What an atmosphere for a young player to experience. Mel Bernardo is off. Marinkovic has not been allowed to come on just yet. Well, George Sitzenaris is on. Max Mikola was in the dugout and he's been ordered back out onto the field, Lockie. I have no idea what's just happened there.
I've not seen that before, Josh. I've seen hijinks from substitutions before, but never like that.
Chock down meanwhile for Preston as his path blocked by the goal scorer, Jordan Lampard there. And well, absolute bedlam when that fourth South Melbourne goal went in the away end. And Preston muster something back. Valenti skewed off his foot and harmlessly behind. Well, Marinkovic has to be disappointed. He was about to come on and experience the derby atmosphere, and I think it was something to do with the amount of substitution windows or that South Melbourne had remaining, perhaps.
We shan't forget that they definitely didn't burn a first half substitution, Josh. I think ultimately the outcome has justified the first half sub, but they did use one very early. Maybe Esteban Quintas forgot.
Lopez coming out to claim. Monabel sniffed around for loose straps in the penalty area.
Thank you in advance, ladies and gentlemen, for your cooperation. I'm sure we'll get home safely. Please remember to obey the instructions or directions provided by our marshals and security personnel, and also to be respectful of our nearby neighbours.
It's allowed to bounce.
Make the way back to your vehicles. Thank you.
Preston half clear it. It's a half penny. Now Painter Andrews has Sitzenaris wide. And how much risk does South Melbourne take off these corners? Not much, I think, is the answer. Both centre halves staying put.
I think they'll be satisfied with a 2-goal buffer. Of course, it would be so tempting, especially in your first meeting in a while against a rival, to add the pain. Now they'll take the corner short. Nicola will be in no hurry. South look as though they'll take the next step. The Doherty Cup, one step closer to the national rounds. I'm sure they would love a return. It's been a few years since the clash they played in 2021 against Melbourne City. Sits in Yaris, a delicious cross over the bonce of Harrison Sawyer. (4-2) against 10. South may feel that enough is a statement. And in many ways, regardless of outcome, this game has been a statement of sorts. So in terms of the spectacle, as much as anything.
This ball spilled out to Barcia. Off the arm of Chokdao. And he is pinged for handball. Well, South Melbourne will be the winners on the night. Victorian football, the real winners. After the turnout we've seen here. Pulsating action from start to finish. And an occasion supporters of either side can never forget.
Located at the northern end of the venue, as well as in the grandstand and inside the pavilion, to kindly remain in those areas for
Harry
a
Sawyer.
brief period. And following that, we'll
His eyes set on another goal.
To safely exit the venue as well. We thank you in advance for your cooperation to ensure that we all get home safely. Please remember to obey the
Nicola off the short run up leaves it. Sawyer strikes! Oh, how about that? Harry Sawyer puts an exclamation point on the win. A strike of superlative quality. There's only one Harry Sawyer. And what he's got in his locker is truly special.
I told you he was due one, Josh. I didn't know he was going to deliver it quite like that. A frankly outrageous free kick from Harrison Sawyer. Players who are ready to make the step up have been the subject of discussion tonight. Well, arise, Sir Harrison Sawyer. One of the best you'll find outside the A-Leagues. Goals like that are not necessarily why, but that is some way to end a scintillating cup tie. Harrison Sawyer's goal, the final flourish to a riveting 7-goal contest in round 6 of the Doherty Cup.
Thank you once again for your attendance and for making it such a great night.
A reunion of two former foes that did not disappoint, and a reunion that will have many counting down the days to what may lie ahead in 2025. South Melbourne, the ladder leaders, emerged victorious in their first meeting against Preston Lions in 11 years by a scoreline of 5-2, and it sounds convincing on the face, but it doesn't quite tell the full story. Preston were ahead after 35 seconds through Wesley Gibello. South Melbourne pulled one back right before the halftime interval, and at the time it was a goal they needed from Ross Archibald before South got back into their groove in the second half. Andy Brennan found the go-ahead. Jake Marshall, the reigning gold medalist in NPL Victoria, looked as though he'd effectively ended the tie at that point, but Preston and their BT Connor crowd had other ideas. A deflected strike from Luke Jego set the cat amongst the pigeons, had the fans back in their full voice, but when the gauntlet was thrown down to South once again, they came up with 2 strikes of stunning quality. The first from Jordan Lampard, and the second from their captain fantastic Harrison Sawyer, to cap off what has been a special night in Victorian football. Everything we hope, Josh Parrish, and maybe a little bit more.
And look at the reception that the South Melbourne players are getting from their supporters as they file out of the grounds. Look at what that means. South Melbourne had to show something tonight. They did not have it all their own way. Down inside 35 seconds. But the league leaders rose to the challenge in the second half. Aaron Anderson given his marching orders for hauling down Harrison Sawyer. And the final scoreline blew out from there, but gee, Harry Sawyer will be savouring that goal for a long time, and so will the Hellas supporters. He's 16th of the season already. And the big target man, who's used to set pieces and maybe scrappy poachers finishes inside the box, shows he can do it from range as well. And South Melbourne will take such inspiration and confidence from this on their title contending charge. Preston have to pick themselves up for a top of the table clash against Melbourne Victory on Monday night next week. But with 10 men, they battled bravely against a side a division above them. And with this sort of crowd, with this sort of turnout, it bodes so well for the incoming national second tier. Thank you to everyone who made the effort to come out on a chilly Tuesday night and make your voices heard. The crowd was 6-7 rows deep even on the fence lines. The grandstand absolutely full to the brim. And thank you also for tuning in at home. Lockie, it's been an absolute privilege to be behind the mic for an occasion like this.
Likewise, Josh. South Melbourne the winners here at BT Connor Reserve by a scoreline of 5-2. But there are many victories to be shared from tonight's proceedings as we close out here in Reservoir and bid you farewell from BT Connor Reserve. If that doesn't whet your appetite for those hoping for a crystal ball look into the future, we don't know what will. Signing off from Reservoir, the final score in round 6 Doherty Cup action, Preston Lions 2, South Melbourne 5.